question is, how do we convert from a fraction to a decimal and percent? These are the things that we've been seeing on our study links coming home, and it's what we're studying in math right now. And in fact, we have a test coming up. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to run through two problems with you. First of all, I've got 1/10, and then I've got 6/25. What I'm going to do is I'm going to convert 1/10 to a decimal, which is really quick and simple to do if I know my place values. When I have place values, this is the tenths place, and this is the hundredths place. So in this case, I've got 1/10, so the 1 goes in the tenths place, and the rest would be a 0. This is equivalent to saying 1/10 or 10/100ths. Now, when I want to convert to a fraction, it's convenient to have the hundredths place filled in, because to convert from decimal to a percentage, it's one step. All I need to do is move my decimal place 2 places, or multiply it times 100. It's the same thing. I can move my decimal place 2 places to the right. In this case, I get 10%. Now, with the case of 6/25ths, our trick to move to decimals only works if I have something in the tenths or if I have something in the hundredths. So my fraction either needs to be in tenths or hundredths. 6/25ths isn't in tenths or hundredths, so what I can do is I can find an equivalent fraction that is in tenths or hundredths. In this case, it's really easy to make this in the hundredths. Our rule for doing this is if I multiply the bottom number, the denominator, by something, I have to multiply the top number by something. So in this case, I'm going to multiply by 4, which gives me hundredths, and 6 times 4, which is 24. So my equivalent fraction is 24 hundredths, is the same thing as saying 6/25ths. They're the same fraction. So now that I have something in hundredths, it's easy to do my decimal trick. Remember, I've got tenths and hundredths place. I've got 24 hundredths, so my decimal is now 24 hundredths. To convert it to a percentage, it's one step. All I need to do is do my trick of moving my decimal place 2 places to the right, and I get 24%. The question is, what are we doing in our classroom to help make the students here more reflective? And I want to talk about 4 or 5 things that we're doing that I want you to ask about and think about and have conversations with your kids about. The first of them is our moose. If you're not checking out our moose, I would like for you to do that more often. In our planner, every day, I'm going to ask our kids to write an exit slip, is what we call it. And I want them to come up with 2 things that they've learned that day. Specific things. I don't want it to be general, like we learned math today. I want it to be, we learned how to convert from a fraction to a decimal and percent today. And I want that to help create some sort of a conversation at home. You know, I know my parents hated when I went home and they'd say, well, what'd you learn at school today? And I would always go, I don't know. Well, I hope that this is one way in which we can kind of get over that little conversation start. The second place I want you to look at is in the moose as well. It's in our newsletter. And I want to take this time to actually talk about a new part of the newsletter. It's in the lower left-hand corner this week, and it's called Weekly Reflections. And what I'm going to do is on Mondays, I'm going to ask the students to reflect about how they're doing. I want them to rate themselves on work completion, effort, and behavior on a scale of 1 to 3. How are they doing? I also want them to be able to identify things that they're doing well, specific things that they're proud of. And I want them to be able to identify what they need to work on, whether that's a big project that's coming up, or whether it's behavior, or if they're working on a specific skill. I would like for them to be able to do that. Now we have a couple of other places that we really focus on reflection. As a class, we have conversations. Individually we reflect as well. One of those is on Fridays. Every Friday what we do is we get our work back. And the students are asked to find the one piece of paper that they're proud of, whether they learned a lot from it, maybe they didn't score the best on it, but they learned something from it, they took something, or that they're proud that they worked really hard, that they were diligent about showing effort, and I give them a Post-it note to put on it. And they have to write on here why they're proud of that. And at the beginning of the year, it was really interesting because they're like, I'm proud of this because I got an A. And over time, it's been really interesting to watch them because they're being very more specific about it. They'll say that they are impressed that they learned something from it. And it's really kind of an exciting thing to see. The last thing that I wanted to talk about is that we do reflections. As a class, before we go to guided reading, each group will come up front and they'll talk about things that they're doing well as a group. What are they working on together? What are some areas they need to focus on as they get ready to start another day of guided reading? And that's been really interesting. These kind of class discussion things we do. We're doing it right now with the Essential 55. We talk about it. And this group of kids is really great about just having conversations. It's really exciting to watch. They're very respectful of each other, and they like to listen to one another and think about it and try to maybe adopt pieces of it, and it'll help them focus. So those are a few places that we're really working on as a class, being reflective and specific about how we're learning.